All right, let's jump into another deep dive. And this time, things are getting a little spooky.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Yeah, so, we asked you to send us some truly terrifying tales, and you definitely delivered.
You guys always come through.
Yeah, seriously, tons of creepy stories, all from the Mr. Nightmare YouTube channel, and all supposedly true.
Those are always the best, right?
Totally. And we're going to unpack 10 of them, try to figure out what makes them tick, what gives us those chills.
I'm ready. Let's get spooky.
Okay, well, first, it's interesting because these aren't just like campfire stories, right?
Yeah.
These are real people sharing experiences that genuinely scared them.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? Real stories, I think they hit differently.
Absolutely. When you think it could happen to you, the fear just gets so real.
Hmm.
And one thing that kept coming up in the stories you sent, this theme of the unseen intruder.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Like that lurking presence, someone or something just out of sight.
Yeah, that taps into something primal, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
that idea that we're never really alone.
Right. Even in spaces we think are safe. It's creepy. Like, remember that story with the woman who kept hearing splashing in her backyard pond?
Oh, yeah. And as soon as she turned on the light, the splashing stopped.
It's like whatever was out there knew it was being watched.
Spooky.
Super spooky. And then it gets worse because later that night, she hears breathing outside her window. And then this deep voice whispers, "I see you."
So creepy. I mean, talk about a fear of the dark coming to life.
I know, right? And that detail, the "I see you," it just makes it so much worse, so much creepier.
I know, it goes from being watched to like being known by this thing, this presence.
Right. It's not just observing you, it's targeting you.
Makes you wonder, right? What does it want? What's it going to do next? Like, is it just watching or is it something way more sinister?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because that whole thing, not knowing what's out there, connects to another story, the one with those muffled cries for help.
Oh, from the parked cars.
Yeah, imagine walking alone at night and you hear that, but you can't even tell if it's an adult or a child, just pure terror.
It's the not knowing that really gets you.
Yeah.
Right. Like your brain just fills in the blanks with the worst possible scenarios.
You're so right.
Yeah.
And that detail, the muffled voice, it makes it even creepier.
Totally. It adds this layer of like distance distortion, like the person's trapped, struggling to be heard.
And it makes you wonder, are they okay? What happened?
Scary.
It's funny because that ties into something I notice about a lot of these stories. It's often what's not shown, what's not explained that really gets under your skin. Like that one with the hidden passageway
Ooh, yeah.
leading to a child's bedroom.
Leading right to their bedroom.
And just the thought of someone secretly being able to get into a kid's room, it's terrifying.
So disturbing and just like a violation on so many levels, right? The kid's space is invaded, but then the parents are left feeling like powerless. Like, what do you do? How could you let this happen in your own home?
Yeah, you think your house is safe and then you realize, oh, maybe not.
Exactly.
And what's even scarier is that in that story, this intruder had been going in undetected for a long time. Just makes you wonder, like, what else are we missing? What else could be happening without us realizing it?
Ugh, I hate that thought.
Me too. It's creepy.
But it's that fear of the unknown that really gets us.
Yeah.
The things we can't see or control.
It really does.
It makes us question our perceptions. Makes you look twice at everything. And what's interesting is that sometimes it's not just about what's hidden. It's about like reality itself getting all messed up.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our next theme, playing with perception.
Yeah. It's like these stories are messing with our heads, making us doubt what we see and hear, like what's real and what's not.
Yeah, like that story with the girl in the bathroom stall. She thinks she's alone, but her friend swears up and down that she saw someone standing right behind her.
What?
Yeah.
It's like, who do you believe? What if your senses are lying to you? What if we can't even trust our own eyes?
Exactly. It's like, okay, what is real? Can we believe anything?
It's like reality is like cracking, and that's terrifying.
Totally. And that fear of someone watching you without you knowing, it gets even worse in the stalker story, the one with the notes on the door.
Oh, that one.
It starts with creepy compliments,
Yeah.
and then it escalates, full-on threats, and she has no idea who's doing it.
That's psychological torture.
Totally. And it erodes your sense of safety, right? Like you're always looking over your shoulder.
Absolutely. And it's like your home, that should be your safe space, but it's not.
Nope.
Okay, ready for another one that really messed with my head?
Hit me.
Okay, so the one with the recurring nightmare and then the unexplained scratch. So this person keeps having this vivid dream about a demonic creature, and then they wake up with a real injury.
That's freaky. It's like the dream world is bleeding into reality.
Exactly. What if our dreams are more than just dreams? What if they're like portals to other dimensions or like premonitions?
That is a question that has haunted humanity forever.
Well, I don't know about you, but that story made me think twice about just brushing off any weird dream.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, but let's shift gears for a sec. We've talked about how these stories make us question what we believe, but what about when, like, the world itself seems to break the rules? That's where our next theme comes in: unexplained phenomena.
I love these stories. Like when the laws of nature seem to just bend or break, it's wild and, yeah, kind of scary.
I know. We're going to start this theme off strong with the story about the toy car that came to life.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so it belonged to the narrator's brother, right? And it just starts making noises, flashing lights, even moving on its own.
That's a classic haunted object story. But I like that it's not a doll or a painting, it's a childhood toy. Makes it even creepier.
Right. And it's like the family tries to get rid of it, but it just keeps coming back.
Oh, I hate that. Like it's attached to them, like it has its own agenda.
Right. It makes you wonder, can objects hold energy? Or is there some other explanation, some kind of, I don't know, scientific thing we just don't understand yet?
That's the question, isn't it? And science doesn't really have all the answers.
But even if there is a logical explanation, our minds go straight to the supernatural, right?
Of course. We want to believe. We want to make sense of the unexplainable.
It's like we're programmed to see patterns, even when there aren't any. Okay, there's another story in this theme that I think you'll find really interesting.
I can't wait.
It's the one about the neighbor with the black bag, remember? The narrator gets fixated on their neighbor's late-night trips, always carrying this heavy bag, and they always end up at this abandoned gas station. Super creepy, right?
That's a classic setup for a horror movie, isn't it?
I know, and the abandoned gas station, it just adds to the suspense. You know something's off, you don't know what.
And it's at night.
Huh?
It's like everything is heightened at night.
Right. It makes you think, is the neighbor involved in something criminal? Or is there a supernatural explanation?
Both are scary, but yeah, I think the criminal thing might be worse.
I know, right? At least with the supernatural, it's like, okay, it's beyond our control, but a person, that's terrifying.
Totally. And it's interesting, right? These last two stories, they both play on that fear of the unexpected happening in, like, the most normal places.
Ooh, I see what you mean. The familiar becoming unfamiliar.
Exactly. It's like both stories are peeling back those layers of our everyday lives and revealing the hidden anxieties, like the stuff we try to ignore.
Yeah, like maybe we're not as safe as we think we are.
I think we're onto something here. But you know what? There's another layer to these stories we haven't even talked about yet. The theme of vulnerable moments.
Ooh, yeah. It's like all of these scary things happen when people are at their most vulnerable.
It's like vulnerability is a magnet for the weird and unsettling.
Think about it. The woman alone by the pond, the person hearing that muffled voice at night, the child with the secret passageway, they're all isolated or unaware of the danger.
Or struggling with something internally, right? Like their own issues.
Exactly. And that connection between vulnerability and fear, it's so clear in the story about the man who was drugged. Remember, he's taken advantage of, robbed, even forced to, like, participate in this criminal activity.
Ugh, that one was rough. It's not just scary, it's just sad.
Totally. And it highlights how a single event like that can just totally shatter your sense of security and safety.
I can't even imagine.
And what's crazy is that even though that story is about a real experience, it still has that element of the unexplained. We never find out who the criminals were or what they were really after.
It's true. And it makes you think, is there more to the story? Is there something we're not seeing?
Yeah. It's like there's this shadow hanging over the whole thing, this feeling that something is not quite right, not quite human, you know?
Yeah, I totally get that. It's like even in the real world, there's still mysteries, things we can't explain.
And that's what makes it all so unsettling, right? Like, we want to believe we have control, but maybe we don't. Maybe there are forces at work that we just don't understand.
Maybe.
I think we need a minute to process all that. Okay, so we've been talking about feeling vulnerable and that lack of control. And that really hit home with me in another story about a college guy who got catfished.
Oh, man, yeah. That one was scary because it could happen to any of us, right?
I know, and it's like such a modern horror story. You think you're meeting someone from Tinder for a date, and then boom, it's a trap. Bunch of criminals.
The scariest part is that they knew so much about him, his personal details, where he lived. It's like they were watching him.
It's so true, and it really shows how technology can be used against us. Like, we leave these digital footprints everywhere we go.
We think we're being careful, but maybe not careful enough.
And the stakes were so high in that story, they force him to give up his phone, his wallet, even try to get him to sell drugs. It's terrifying.
It is. It is. It makes you think twice about, like, what you post online, who you talk to.
You know, on the one hand, it's a very real danger, but on the other hand, it's like it almost has this mythical quality to it.
Ooh. How do you mean?
It's like a modern-day cautionary tale, right? Like, be careful who you trust online, be careful where you go in the digital world, because there are monsters lurking in the shadows.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like, the internet has become this kind of folklore landscape with its own creatures and dangers.
Yes. And in this story, the catfish becomes the monster, right? Preying on the guy's innocence and his desire to connect with someone.
Okay, but speaking of monsters, I have to bring up another story.
Which one?
The one about the woman who kept finding notes on her door. It's a classic stalker scenario, but what makes this one so disturbing is that the stalker knows her name.
I remember that. So creepy. And the threats escalate. It goes from weird compliments to, like, I know where you live.
Yeah, it's personalized terror, and it really plays on that fear of the unknown, that feeling of being watched and not knowing who's doing it.
It totally violates your sense of privacy and safety.
And the story doesn't give us any answers. The stalker disappears, the police can't find them.
So frustrating. You want to know who it is, why they're doing it. I know, it's like the stalker becomes this phantom just haunting her thoughts. And that feeling of being watched, pursued by something we don't understand, that's a recurring theme, right?
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I guess it's a primal fear. The fear of being hunted, of being stalked by something in the darkness.
And it also makes us think about how vulnerable we are, how much control we really have over our lives. Okay, are you ready for one that really messed with my head?
Bring it on. I'm feeling brave.
Okay, so remember the story about the recurring nightmare and the unexplained scratch?
Yeah. What if our dreams are more than just dreams, right?
Exactly. So in this story, the person keeps having this super vivid dream about this, like, demonic creature, and then they wake up and there's a real injury.
It's like the dream world is seeping into reality.
And it makes you question, like, where did the injury come from? Was it the dream? Did something happen while they were sleeping?
I don't even want to think about it.
I know. It's like a classic horror movie trope. The monster under the bed, the creature lurking in the shadows. But what really gets me is that we never find out what caused the scratch. It's left up to our imagination.
Yeah, it's that uncertainty that really creeps you out.
It makes you wonder, what if our dreams are more than just dreams? What if they're connected to something bigger, something darker?
Now you're really freaking me out. But, even though this story is super supernatural, it also plays on that theme of vulnerability, right? The person is asleep, totally defenseless, and something happens.
Totally. It's like our subconscious fears can manifest in really terrifying ways.
Okay, so we've got unseen intruders, stalkers, nightmares. What else could possibly be lurking in these stories?
Well, how about we switch gears a bit and explore something even more unsettling?
Go for it.
Let's talk about the stories that involve unexplained phenomena, the things that defy logic and reason.
Okay, I am ready to have my mind blown.
All right, let's start with a classic, the haunted toy car. You know, the one that belonged to the narrator's brother and suddenly starts moving on its own?
Oh, yeah. That one was wild. I mean, a haunted house, a haunted doll, that's one thing. But a toy car.
It's unexpected, right? And I think that's what makes it so creepy.
And it belonged to the narrator's brother, so there's that personal connection, too.
Exactly. And the family tries to get rid of it, but it just keeps coming back.
Like it's attached to them. Like it has a purpose.
Yeah.
It's so creepy.
I know, it's like a classic horror movie trope, the cursed object that can't be destroyed. But it also makes you think, like, what if objects really can hold energy? What if there are things happening around us that we just don't have the ability to understand?
Right. Science can't explain everything.
So true. But there's another story in this theme that takes that idea of the unexplained to a whole new level.
Oh, lay it on me. I'm on the edge of my seat.
Okay, remember the story about the neighbor with the black bag? The one where the narrator gets obsessed with their neighbor's late night trips. Always carrying this bag, always going to this creepy abandoned gas station.
That's one of those stories that just stays with you. It's like your imagination just runs wild with all the possibilities.
I know. And the narrator even decides to follow the neighbor one night.
Talk about risky. Like, what are they going to do if they get caught?
Right. And they end up breaking into the gas station, setting off the alarm, putting themselves in a potentially dangerous situation.
But then the next morning, the police arrive and arrest the neighbor.
but we never find out what the neighbor was doing or why they were arrested.
That's the worst. Like, I need closure.
I know, it's the ultimate cliffhanger. But I think that's part of what makes these stories so effective, right? They leave us with questions, they let our imaginations fill in the blanks.
I guess so. It's like we get to create our own endings, our own explanations for the unexplainable.
Okay, ready for another wild one?
Hit me.
Okay, the Berlin story. Remember, the narrator loses their keys, stumbles upon a potential drug deal, and then they think they're being chased.
Oh, that was intense.
Right.
Like, so cinematic.
And the detail about hearing someone say, "don't shoot," in the middle of it all, it just adds this whole other level of, like, danger.
Right. You don't know if it's directed at the narrator or someone else, but it's definitely a real threat.
It makes you wonder what would have happened if they had stayed. Like, were they about to witness something they shouldn't have?
Ugh. I don't even want to think about it. It makes you realize how quickly things can escalate, how a seemingly ordinary situation can turn dangerous in an instant.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we're not always in control, that sometimes things just happen.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got unseen forces, stalkers, haunted objects, dangerous encounters. What else have we got?
Well, we've talked about those vulnerable moments, but I think it's time we really dive into that theme. It's like so many of these stories hinge on those moments when characters are at their weakest, they're most susceptible to fear and manipulation. Like, think about it. The woman alone by the pond, the guy who was catfished, the person hearing the muffled voice, they're all in these situations where they're isolated, unaware, or just struggling with their own stuff.
Right. It's like vulnerability becomes this magnet for the strange and the unsettling, like an open door for the darkness to seep in.
Exactly. And there's this one story that really highlights that connection, the story about the man who was drugged and forced into criminal activity.
That one was so disturbing. It shows how easily our trust can be betrayed and how quickly a situation can spiral out of control.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, but it also makes you think about the lasting effects of trauma. How a single event can leave you feeling scared and distrustful.
And the craziest part is we never find out who the criminals were or what their motives were. It's like there's this lingering sense of unease, like something just isn't right.
Exactly. It's like even in a story that's rooted in reality, there's still that hint of the unexplainable. It makes you wonder, are there forces at work that we just don't understand? Like, is there a darker side to reality that we only glimpse in moments like these?
I don't know. It's scary to think about.
It is, but I think that's part of what draws us to these stories, right? They let us explore those darker corners of our minds and the world around us. They make us question what's real, what's possible, and what lies beyond the veil of our everyday experience.
You know what? You're right. I think it's that sense of mystery, that desire to peek into the unknown that keeps us coming back for more.
All right. We've explored some pretty unsettling territory tonight, but we've got one last story to unpack, and it's a doozy. All right, we're back, and I don't know about you, but I'm still thinking about those stories, especially the one about the neighbor with the black bag, those late-night trips, the abandoned gas station. Like, what was he doing?
Right. It's the mystery that gets you. Your mind just starts filling in the blanks, right?
Totally. Okay, but we have one more story to unpack, and this one is different. It's less about jump scares and more about, like, what's going on inside the narrator's head? Remember that story with the insomnia and the nicotine addiction?
Oh, yeah, the one where they're spending all night on their balcony watching their neighbor.
Yeah. So the narrator's struggling to sleep, smoking a ton of cigarettes, and just hyper-focused on everything this neighbor's doing.
The insomnia and the addiction, they both create this, like, heightened state of awareness, you know? Like, everything is amplified.
It's true, and that focus gets directed at the neighbor. Like, they become this obsession. The narrator's trying to figure out their routine, where they go, what they do.
It's almost like a way to distract themselves from their own problems.
Yeah.
Right? Their own anxieties about the insomnia, the addiction.
Yeah, it's like they can't control those things, so they try to control what they can, observing the neighbor.
And then there's the neighbor's behavior, right? The late night walks, the black bag, the abandoned gas station.
Which, you know, we've talked about how creepy those places are. It's like the writer is giving us these little hints of strangeness, just enough to freak us out.
And those details feed right into the narrator's paranoia.
But then it escalates because the narrator decides to follow the neighbor.
That's a huge step, right? Going from watching to actually getting involved.
It is, and it shows how that desire for control can get out of hand. It's like they need to know, even if it puts them at risk.
And they break into the gas station, set off the alarm, talk about a bad decision.
I know, but then the next morning, the police are there, the neighbor's arrested. but we never find out why.
Ugh, so annoying. I hate when stories leave you hanging like that.
I know. It's like, what was in the bag? What was the neighbor doing? Was it something truly bad, or was the narrator just imagining things?
We'll never know. It's the ultimate mystery. But I think that's what makes it so effective. It sticks with you.
It really does. It makes you think about, like, how much do we really know about the people around us?
Exactly. And how much of what we perceive is actually real? Like, how much is our own anxiety and fear coloring our view of the world?
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into these 10 terrifying tales, I'm curious, what are your final thoughts?
You know, what strikes me is how many of these stories play on those primal fears, like the fear of the unknown, the fear of being watched, the fear of losing control.
That's so true. And I think it speaks to why we're so drawn to these kinds of stories, right? They allow us to safely confront those fears, to explore the darker side of human nature and the world around us.
Yeah, it's a good way to process those anxieties, those things that keep us up at night.
So, to our listener, we leave you with this: what do these stories tell you about yourself, about your fears, about the world we live in? Are they just entertainment, or is there something more to them, something deeper?
Maybe the scariest monsters are the ones we create in our own minds.
Ooh, chills. Well, on that note, we'll let you go ponder the mysteries we've uncovered tonight. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, sweet dreams.